Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Three Addict Network. Randy, there's no time? I must gargoyle immediately? Well, you heard the man. Hang on. Let me load up some... Oh. Let me load up some gargoyling music. Let's see. We're gonna wanna load up this one. Alright, here we go. Gargoyle time, baby. Mary Mitch jump scare. What if we do a stream like this today? Nah, I'm just playing. Man, that was a pretty good gargoyle moment. Oh, dude, I didn't have the headphones in, so I couldn't jam out to this, but I hope you guys were. This song is sick.
Gargoyle moment, gargoyle moment, gargoyle, gargoyle, gargoyle moment, gargoyle, gargoyle moment.
All right, well, now that that is all said and done, it is time to begin the stream. I hope that this stream meets you in some high spirits and that your day today has been going well. We are going to be continuing our reading today of a certain story called The Hero of the 5 Points. Let's see. We're going to have to look it up here. Yeah, here it is. Gonna have to find our spot as well. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for the Goyle love. Alright. I also need to check my bookmark to see where exactly we were in the story. Oh, alright, Randy. Hey, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you. Alright, we were at... Come say that to my Mazard, you maggot-arsed jackanapes. That's right. We were right at that, insult. Hailed by Hellcat Maggie. Yeah, and booyah. We got it right here. Let's go ahead and switch on over to this view, so that we might continue the story. Alright, let me load up some tabletop audio. And I think we had the Metropolis fanfare going last time. Yeah. Alright, well, shall we continue? Last we left off, our hero, believe his name is Dalton, yes, and his robotic companion, what was it? Mr. started with an R. Ralph? Rivets, Mr. Rivets, and his robotic companion, Mr. Rivets. Yo, what's up? Bebo, I'm right here. Oh, I actually just realized, goodness. I need my glasses for to read. Or to enhance my reading skills. Ah, I see. It is time for hydration. This has been the hydration portion of the Merry Mitch stream. I hope that you have enjoyed the water time, the time in which Merry Mitch drinks water. All right. So, as I was saying, last we left off in the hero of the 5 points. Our hero, Dalton, was sent to take down this big fella right here. This character known as the largest and most in-charge fella that has ever graced, this side of the East River. In Manhattan, the Bowery Boys, the Dead Rabbits, and a number of other gangs fight and duke it out for control. Let's see. Mose was the name of the Herculean giant of a man who seemed to belong to the Bowery Boys. A gang of young Mohawk men who believed... Wait, sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that if Mohawk is a tribe, but does that mean Mohawk is in, like, men with Mohawks? Or Mohawk is in, like, a Native American tribe or something? That is unclear to me. Let me look into that. Is there a... People of the Flint? Yeah, it is. Gotcha. My apologies then. You know, I think the Metropolis fanfare is just a little too much at the moment. We're gonna switch it over to, let's see. Steampunk airship? Mayhaps? Yeah, that's better. So Dalton had been sent to take down this unusually large fella named Mose. He was said to be some sort of, like, connected to some sort of ancient race of giants. I think they were called Mega Mangleborn, yeah. A Mangle spawn, the monstrous offspring of some poor, wretched human being and a Mangleborn. One of the ancient, unkillable titans the Septemberist Society was sworn to keep subdued. So he essentially has been sent to take down a giant. His attempt was in the midst of a battle between the Bowery Boys and the Dead Rabbits, wherein Dalton managed to save the life of the leader of the Dead Rabbits, and wasn't able to fully kill Mose during that fight. He was taken back to the Dead Rabbits' hideout / speakeasy, because he was disguised as a Dead Rabbit member. So he ended up there, but they quickly realized that he was not actually a member of their crew, and so he was confronted and was nearly, straight up iced and sent to sleep with the fishes. If it had not been for a certain lady that had decided to help him out, because it turned out that, what was it, Maggie? Her name was Maggie, wasn't it? Yeah. And she was a part of, Hellcat Maggie, that's right. And she was apparently a part of the Septemberist Society, same as Dalton. And that is why she saved his life. And we come in now, in the midst of their conversation, as she had just been interrupted rudely by one of the Dead Rabbit members, and scowled at him and called him a, what was the exact insult again? A maggot of some kind. Hang on. Oh, I had my spot saved over here. That's right. Or I thought I did. Whoops. Yeah, right here. Calling him a maggot-arsed jackanapes. Whew. What an insult. Alright, well, we shall continue the story from here. Let's see, they're in the midst of a speakeasy. Would they happen to have a speakeasy ambiance? They do! Yo, tabletop audio. Coming through. Nice, okay. Oh, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, what an insult, am I right? Maggot-arsed jackanapes. I want to start using that in my day-to-day. If I can. Same as this phrase that is straight from the opening OP of Ranking of Kings is my energy is faded like a soda going flat. Or like a soda gone flat. I heard that phrase and was like, shoot, I need to use that in my day-to-day anytime I can. Like if I'm ever feeling down or with some lack of energy or something, I'll just be like, oh bro, man, my energy is fading like a soda gone flat. Or just like refer to myself as a soda gone flat. Or someone else, you know? You're like, hey yo, man, what's wrong? You're looking like a soda gone flat. Or get the alliteration in there. Call him a Fanta gone flat. Alright, well, let's continue the story. Go ahead and settle in, get comfy, and get cozy, and get ready for this here afternoon story. Hellcat Maggie and another Yankee woman wearing a man's pants and goloshes threw themselves at each other, and within moments there was a circle of cheering, jeering dead rabbits around them, and Dalton and Mr. Rivets were alone. "I'll just wait here then, shall I?" Dalton said to the empty seat across from him.
Miss Maggie's information, though abridged, does give us something to go on.
Mr. Rivets said.
Does the monster's absence mean it requires extended periods of rest and recuperation? A kind of hibernation?
Dalton's eyes fell on the pretty barmaid across the room. While everyone else was occupied with the fight between Hellcat Maggie and her attacker, the barmaid stuffed a sack full of bread and cheese stolen from behind the bar. She gave the mob a quick glance to make sure no one had seen her, then disappeared out the back door. "Or perhaps instead of generous amounts of sleep," Dalton said, "Mose requires someone to bring him copious amounts of food." The pretty barmaid carried her sack of food through the back alleys of the 5 Points, which were even more wretched than its main arteries. Dalton was tempted to pull his handkerchief from his pocket and cover his mouth and nose again against the stench, but he knew that would give him away as an outsider. In places, the alleys were shoe-top deep in steaming filth and mud, and drunkards and madmen haunted the back doors to tenements, little more inviting than the streets. Dalton and Mr. Rivets hid behind a stack of empty barrels as the barmaid stopped at an open manhole cover and looked around to see if she was being followed. Something rustled in the barrels. Man or beast, Dalton didn't know, and didn't want to know. But he held his ground until the barmaid slipped down a ladder into the hole. "Looks like I'll have to go it alone from here," Dalton told Mr. Rivets, and the machine man agreed to meet him back at the Dead Rabbit's headquarters in Sportsman Hall. Dalton gripped his father's ray gun tightly, made sure the aggregator was full, and descended into the darkness. The ladder led down into dank, moss-covered stone tunnel with a trickle of water running down the middle. Just ahead, Dalton could see lantern light moving away from him. He hurried to stay close. The tunnels were narrow and old, a relic of the Roman city that had been there hundreds of years before. Now the brass tubes of New Rome's pneumatic post ran through them, but old Roman numerals still marked the corners, and broken glass domes appeared every few yards along the walls. Electric lights, Dalton guessed. He'd seen evidence of such things before in other ruins, but didn't understand how they worked. That was the providence of the Septembrist Society's tinkers. And they understood electricity only so far as to know what to sabotage when they saw somebody developing it. Dalton moved as quickly as he dared through the dark tunnel, more than once putting his foot down on something that squeaked in protest. The light up ahead waned. He turned a corner, and suddenly he was in complete and utter darkness. There was no hint of the barmaid's lantern from any direction. Damnation! Damnation! Dalton whispered. He spun in the darkness, trying to see more than 2 feet in front of him. When he stopped, he realized he'd turned himself around so much he didn't even know which way he'd come in. Not that he could remember all the turns he'd taken to get there. He cursed himself for being a fool. The tunnel suddenly flooded with light, and Dalton threw up his arm to shield his eyes. Someone wrenched the ray gun from his hand and stepped back, the person's feet splashing in the thin water. "What's your chant?" a young woman's voice asked him. "My what?" "Your name, Noddle. Who are you?" "Who are yous?" Dalton asked, the light still too bright to do more than squint. "I'm the girl who has your ray gun pointed at you," she said. "Now what's your story?" "My name is Dalton Dent." Dalton could only blink, and still had to shield his eyes with his arm. He couldn't see who he was talking to. "How did I know I was there? Oh, how did you know I was here?" The girl laughed. "You make more ruckus than your bolt bucket. Why were you following me?" So it was the barmaid. Even better. Dalton had been trained to track and kill all manner of monsters, but a girl of 20 had bested him without a fight. It was a red-letter day for the Society's newest solo agent. "Why were you following me?" the girl asked again. "I saw you steal food back at Sportsman Hall. I thought perhaps you were taking it to Moe's." "The Bowery Boys monster? Are you playing the Mad Tom? Is that really what you thought?" "Well, yeah." "Come on," the girl said. "I'll show you who the kitchen physic is for." "The kitchen physic?" "I'll show you who the kitchen physic is for." The stars in Dalton's eyes cleared as the barmaid carried the lantern away from him. Dalton followed the girl down another tunnel until they came out into a larger, more open chamber where multiple tunnels converged. Here, under the smoky glow of torches set in the broken glass domes of the Romans' electric lights, lived perhaps 24 children. At the sight of the barmaid, they leapt up from their straw pallets and crawled out from inside their overturned barrels to rush her, their grubby hands grabbing for the sack she carried. None of them was over the age of 10. They were doleful things, gaunt and grimy and hollow-looking. A few of them Yankees, but more of them First Nations. Apparently, the girl didn't hold to the dead rabbit's prejudices against the other tribes. "Share?" the barmaid said as the children pulled the sack from her hands. "Share. I mean it. I have a ray gun now." She brandished Dalton's ray gun, more to embarrass him than to impress the children, Dalton thought. For though she showed dutiful awe, they really only had eyes for food. "Are they all orphans?" Dalton asked. "Only a few," the barmaid said. "Their parents don't want 'em, won't feed 'em, so they take to the streets. Become palmers and sneak thieves. The gangs take them in one day, give them a purpose such as it is, but not until they're old enough to scrap. Until then, only the sweatshops have a use for 'em." She took a small girl in her arms and held her while the girl gnawed on a heel of bread. "A straw pallet in a sewer is better than that any day." It was incredible to Dalton that there were still sweatshops that used human labor in the city. But machine men were expensive, and human life was cheap, especially here in the 5 Points. "You take care of 'em all?" Dalton asked. "The ones who end up here? I bring them peck when I can. They scavenge and hook the rest." She sang to the little girl. "Paloma, put the kettle on. Paloma, put the kettle on. Paloma, put the kettle on. We'll all have tea." "That nursery rhyme," Dalton said. "Why did you sing it just now?" The barmaid frowned and shrugged. "No reason. I often sing it. Why?" "It's, no matter," Dalton said. The barmaid looked about at the children stuffing their faces with bread and cheese. "Where's Edelote?" she asked the children. None of them answered her. "Harriet? Where's Edelote?" A grungy little girl pointed into the darkness at the far side of the room. The barmaid looked as though Mose had just swallowed one of the children. "No, not another one." "What is it?" The barmaid put down the girl she carried and stepped away from the children. "Some of them hear voices," she said. "The weak ones, mostly. Though I confess I've heard it once or twice, too. Whispering to me, calling me down into the old tunnels, further below. The voice of evil. But you'll never believe me." Dalton assured her that he did, and he knew just whose call it was they were hearing. Or more precisely, what's call. "Once they go down there, they never come back," the barmaid said. "Well, not this time. I'm going to find him." The young woman picked up her lantern to go, but Dalton stopped her. "You can't," he told her. "You're right. There is something evil down there. Something that calls to the weak-minded. The same something that makes the gangs of the 5 Points fight incessantly. They're called the Mangleborn." She was on the front lines, as it were. She deserved to know. So he told her everything. He told her how the Mangleborn, giant, misshapen monsters that only feed on electricity, had been in the world since before the dawn of man, and how they rose from their slumber every few hundred years to destroy civilization each time humanity covered the world with electric generators and electric wires. He told her how a new League of Seven 7 super-powered heroes from all over the world always arose to put the Mangleborn back down, and how the Septembrist Society had been founded in the wake of the last cataclysm centuries ago to monitor the Mangleborn, kill their Mangle spawn, and keep the world from rediscovering electricity, all in the hope that the Titans would never rise again, and a new league would never be needed. To his surprise, the barmaid believed him. To his frustration, she didn't care. "I'm going anyway," she said. "I'm not going to lose another one. Besides, I have a ray gun now." She headed toward the darkness at the far end of the room, Aether pistol pointed at the ceiling. "Damn it all," Dalton said, catching up to her. "At least tell me your name, if I'm going to march with you to my death." "It's Agatha," she told him. "Agatha Lowry." Water time. My throat is dying. I'm not sure why. Ah! Frick. Forgot to take it off of the scroll setting. Yeesh. Let's see. We'll have tea. Here we were. They found where he lived a half hour later, deep down inside the tunnels. Not where Edelote lived. The boy was still nowhere to be found. This was the room of a giant. It was like something out of a fairy tale, or a perversion of one. In one corner was an enormous table, cobbled together from shipping pallets and scrap lumber, too high and too broad for a human being to use. Beneath it, in lieu of a chair, was an oaken wine cask a man could have stood inside. In another corner was something like a nest, a round bed of sticks and trash, and mild wet blankets, and mildewed blankets, with an imprint in it the size of a steam mule. In the other two corners were bones. Along most of one wall, iron construction rods had been driven into the hard-packed dirt floor to create small cells. Within these cells were bodies, bones, the remains of children. There were 4 of them. 2 were mere skeletons, their bodies and clothes long since decomposed. In another was a skeleton stretched tight with leathery skin, its lips drawn back from its teeth in a horrible smile. A First Nations boy, from the looks of him. In the last was the body of a young Yankee girl with a dirty white dress and a head full of blonde curls. A rotting body still fresh enough to be home to a million crawling things. None of them had been Agatha's children, but she wept for them anyhow. Dalton was more interested in the symbols and drawings painted red with blood on the walls behind the children. "Lemurian, I think," he said. "Though I've only seen a fragment of a single page of it before. I've no idea what any of it says." "There are no doors," Agatha said. "There are no doors." "No what?" "No doors to the cells." Just bars. They were put here to stay, she said, her hands on the bars. To never get out again. Dalton moved on the other set of bones in the corner. This skeleton was not trapped behind iron bars, and whatever it had been, it was monstrous. Its skull was wide and stunted, like a mushroom cap, with a mouthful of too many teeth that were too big around and too flat. The thing's massive legs bent backwards, not forward, and its hands were more like the toes of an elephant. Its ribcage could have been a grown man's prison. Remy. What is this place? Agatha asked. Dalton bent down to trace the outline of an enormous footprint in the dirt. It's his room, he whispered. He looked over his shoulder at the doorway, half expecting to see the monster striding through it. Mose. He lives here. A chill passed over him, and he fought to control his fear. Or, he did until very recently, he said, noticing the thin layer of dust that covered every surface. Perhaps it's, where he grew up. But now he's gone above ground, taken in by a gang, like your orphans one day. And this? She said, looking at the bones in the corner. His mother? Dalton guessed. Agatha hugged herself. He captured these children, kept them like pets, and then quashed them. All the more proof that he's a monster, Dalton said. A monster I need to find a way to kill. We have to find your boy first. Let's go. Edelote was in a room just beyond the place where Mose had grown up. He stood at the far end of a large, domed cavern, using a broken piece of brick to chip away methodically and uselessly at the stone floor. Around the walls of the room hung 7 giant copper cylinders, each attached to a central point in the ceiling by pipes as thick as Dalton's head. Agatha ran across the wooden floor to Edelote and took him up in her arms. He was a tiny Algonquin boy in ragged pants and a torn, filthy shirt, his eyes distant and unfocused. Dalton knew that look. The boy was hearing the call of a Mangleborn. His skin, Dalton, look, Agatha said. She pulled back his tattered sleeves. All over the boy were symbols and markings, like the ones on the wall of Moses' room. Ancient Lemurian ciphers and ideograms carved into his skin with the sharp edge of a stone. The wounds were still fresh. Who did this to him? Agatha asked. I suspect he did it to himself, Dalton told her. The boy was hearing the call of a Mangleborn, but why had it brought him here, to this strange place? And what were all the copper chambers for? Dalton tapped on one. It was empty. His eyes followed the pipes to the ceiling and saw a switch there, far too high for anyone to reach without a careful shot from a ray gun or a bow and arrow. Paloma put the kettle on, Paloma put the kettle on, Paloma put the kettle on, we'll all have tea, Agatha sang, trying to soothe the listless boy. Great era, I know what this place is, Dalton said. We have to leave here immediately. Immediately! What is it? Why? Agatha asked. Dalton didn't answer. He took her arm and hurried her towards the door where they'd come in. Something heavy and machine-like clicked under the wooden floor beneath them. Dalton gave Agatha and Edelode a push just as the trapdoor opened beneath their feet. Agatha and the boy tumbled to the safety of the stone floor just beyond the pit. Dalton fell. His fingers caught the top edge of the wooden floor where it hinged, and he slammed painfully against the vertical surface of the trapdoor. 100 feet below him churned a copper-sided well of boiling water. Dalton! Agatha screamed. She set Edelode aside and reached to help Dalton, but the boy's empty eyes turned once again to the door across the pit, and he stepped toward the precipice. No! Catch him, Agatha! Dalton cried. His fingers burned as he struggled to keep hold. He's still under the Mangleborn's thrall! He'll walk right into the trap trying to go to it. He'll walk right into the trap trying to go to it. Agatha caught Edelode before he stepped off into the boiling water. With her other hand, she reached down to help Dalton. At long last, he crawled up out of the pit and collapsed beside her, panting, while she held tight to Edelode. Paloma put the kettle on, Dalton said. Dalton Dent, the world's greatest fool. What do you mean? What is this place? Agatha asked. It's the first room of a puzzle trap, Dalton explained. When the Roman League of Seven trapped the Mangleborn the last time, they built chambers on top of them, which are passable only by solving elaborate riddles. The puzzle traps let Septembrists go down to monitor the Mangleborn in their prisons, but keep out all those who would free the monsters to rule the earth again. Who would free them? Madmen, Dalton said. Anyone who hears the call and follows it. The children, Agatha said. You mean this is where they go? Do you think any of them have made it through? No, Dalton said. He got to his feet. That nursery rhyme you've been singing to the children. Paloma put the kettle on. It's no coincidence it came to mind. It's the clue the Roman League left for how to get through these puzzle traps. Most nursery rhymes are clues to some puzzle trap somewhere in the world. Dalton pointed to the copper cylinders. I suspect you have to fill those copper drums with water and boil it to make steam. The steam pressure will open the first door to the next puzzle. There's a spigot there in the ceiling. Do you see it? But how could you reach it? Agatha asked. With a ray gun, or a good shot from a bow and arrow, Dalton said. Paloma isn't just a girl's name. It's the Choctaw word for bow. Paloma put the kettle on. That's the clue. Turn on the water, set it to boil, the door opens. I'm sure the rest of the standards could get you through the other rooms as well, if you could figure them out. But your children, they wouldn't have known that. You mean they all ended up... Agatha left off as something clicked again in the floor beneath them, and the huge wooden trapdoor ratcheted back up into position, ready to catch the next person who didn't know how to bypass the traps. If the children continue to live in the tunnels, More of them will be lured here, Dalton told her. More of them will fall into this trap. I'll move them, Agatha said. I don't know where, but they won't stay here another night. The boy stuck his head through the door of Sportsman Hall and yelled. Fire! Fire at the Matata... Mantatapa Tannery! Took me, hey, third time's the charm, right? Half a dozen dead rabbits who'd been sitting over mugs and beer jumped to their feet and ran for the door. Agatha hurried over to Dalton and Mr. Rivets. The Mantatopa Tannery's on the edge of Bowery Boy territory, Agatha told them. If they show up, there's bound to be a fight. And if there's a fight, Mose might put in an appearance, Dalton finished. He was already getting up from the table. He'd kept an ear out for the monster for days, ranging as close to Bowery Boy territory as he dared, and occasionally returning to Mose's old room in the tunnels in his search for him. But the Mangle spawn hadn't put in an appearance since Dalton's first day in the 5 Points. Maybe this was his chance. Keep your knob down, Noddle! Keep your knob down, Noddle! How do you say that? Keep your knob down, Noddle! Agatha called after him. What does that mean? Is Noddle a term? I'm assuming knob refers to the noggin. But what does Noddle mean? What is a Noddle? Let me see if I can look this up. It may just be a term like within the world that the 5 Points are set in. Noddle definition. The person's head. Wait, then what? Keep your knob down. She's calling him a person's head. Head. Definition of Noddle. Head or pat?
Noddle.
Noddle. What is a pate? Pate?
Pate.
Pate. A spread of finely chopped or pureed seasoned meat. A meat or fish pie or patty. Or the crown of a head. Or a hat covered his bald pate. Okay, so Noddle could also mean a spread of finely chopped or pureed seasoned meat. A meat or fish pie or patty. Well, that's definitely our word of the day, eh? Freaking Noddle. Noddle. It is a noun. The pronunciation looks something like this. And then the definition is head or pate. And yeah, synonyms are bean, block, dome, head, mazard. Yeah, that too means head. A lot of like weird terms for a person's head in this story. Also, what font should we use? Comic Sans? Yeah. Oh no. What the heck? Sorry. Give me one sec. I accidentally loaded up a video game. Alright, we're good. Alright, make this bigger. Yeah, noddle means head or pate. Chicken liver pate is the best. Nice, nice. Oh, yo, what's up? What's up, Emerald? Good to have you here. You prefer beef or pork liver pate? Huh. Can't say I've ever had it. I don't think I've ever had pate in my life. Can you call it beef or pork noddle? Or beef liver noddle? Yo, I'm gonna go to the Outback and give me some noddle. A little salty, but be good. Let me see. Pork liver pate. What does that look like? Ooh, ugh. Sorry. From what it looks like in the pictures, does not look super appetizing. Oh wait, there's a couple of pictures that show it well. Hey, okay, I can get down with that. Is it used as like a spread often? It's spreadable meat paste. I don't know about that. I take that back. To be fair, spreadable meat paste, that doesn't sound like the worst thing. Delicious meat butter. King Geekara. I don't know about that. Charcuterie boards and stuff. Eat on crackers or crudité. Man, I'm learning a lot about pate today. Some good stuff, and all from Agatha calling Dalton a noddle. You'd be surprised the routes in which people learn things. Warning. Incoming nose blow. Warning. Incoming blowing nose time. Now back to the story. Oh, also, they are out of the sewers now. So let's go back to... Let's go for Steampunk Station. Alright. Dalton raced out into the streets, Mr. Rivets at his heels. A dozen boys and young women and young men wearing the red shirts and red striped pants of the Dead Rabbits ran by, pulling a hand-drawn wagon. The wagon carried a tarnished brass steam engine and water pump that towered like a New Rome sky, like the New Rome skyline. And from the corners and sides of the rickety old thing hung ropes, ladders, sand buckets, and hoses. Besides the brassworks, the entire engine was painted black, with the words "Black Joke" painted in gold along the side. A dead rabbit sat in the driver's seat, doing more hanging on for dear life than driving as he shouted directions to the chasers. Dalton caught one of the dead rabbits as he was running past. "Haven't you got tick-tock, fireman?" The rabbit scoffed. Maybe up at Esther Place they do, but not down here. The only bolt bucket in the 5 points are yours and the coppers, when they show." Hellcat Maggie appeared behind the boy and glared at Dalton. He knew what the look was meant to tell him. He was giving himself away. "Foul, joyless creature. Foul, joyless creature," Dalton thought. Regardless, he resolved to keep his mouth shut as he fell in with the dead rabbits running to the fire. Mantatopa Tannery was fully ablaze when they arrived. Flames rose from the broken windows of the wooden warehouse, and black smoke hung thick in the air. There was but one well for the dead rabbits to dip their hoses into, conveniently located right across the street from the conflagration. But it was currently being guarded by the meanest-looking Cherokee Dalton had ever seen. The ruffian was short and squat, with arms as thick as stovepipes bulging out from under his rolled-up shirt sleeves. His nose was bent, his chin was scarred, and part of his left ear was missing. Pulled down tight over the top of his black mop hair was an oversized tan plug hat. What is a plug hat? I'm seeing two different. I'm seeing just a top hat that is called a plug hat, but I think it's more akin to this one. This is a plug hat. Oh, it won't let me zoom any further. Huh. All right. "Looks like the plug uglies beat us here," said one of the dead rabbits. "Yeah, but only one of them," Hellcat Maggie snarled. "Quash him!" The ugly plug ugly stood, revealing the ray gun tucked into his waist and the brick bat in his hand. "Just try it, rabbits," he said. The dead rabbits fell on him, fists and bricks flying. The rabbits quickly had the ruffian on the ground, kicking and stomping him in, but his reinforcements arrived. Another hand-drawn fire truck, this one all white, with the name White Ghost painted in black on the side, clattered onto the scene, pulled by a score of plug uglies, all of whom immediately fell to attacking the dead rabbits. The street became a battlefield. Dead rabbits and plug uglies hitting and shooting and clubbing one another, and all the while, the Mantatopa Tannery burned behind them. Dalton grabbed Hellcat Maggie as she ran past him. "Isn't anybody going to do anything about the fire?" he asked, over the din. "Not while the plug ugly yet stands. Not while the plug ugly yet stands," she shot back at him, pulling away. Dalton turned to Mr. Rivets in despair. "Help me get the water pump running." Dalton fired up the steam engine's boiler, while Mr. Rivets connected a hose and dragged it to the well. A plug ugly threw a brick bat at Dalton, missed, and tried to climb the black joke to get at him. Dalton kicked him in the chest, sending him back into the roiling mob below. He was beginning to wish he hadn't let Agatha keep his father's ray gun.
The hose is in the well, sir.
Mr. Rivets said, returning. "Good. I've got the boiler stoked," Dalton said. He opened a valve, and the pump arm began to rise and fall. "Soon we can..." Dalton froze atop the black joke. Whatever plans he had to put out the fire by himself had just gone up in smoke. Mose and the Bowery boys had come out to play. Mose dropped the Bowery boys' red fire engine onto the cobblestone street with a crash and waded into the fight. Do they have like a fight ambience? This might actually work. No, it has gunfire. Let's see. A little too medieval. But Mech War is probably a little too futuristic. Yeah. What is Rat Battle? You know, I can get down with Rat Battle. I guess? I don't know. It's not exactly all that intense. Sorry, if I can't find something in the next minute or two here for this here fight, we'll switch back to just some simple ambience. Alright, I'm down with this one. Mose dropped the Bowery boys' red fire engine onto the cobblestone street with a crash and waded into the fight. Dead rabbits and plug uglies went flying, and the two 5 Points gangs quickly dropped their fight with each other and stood together against the invaders from the Bowery. Dalton watched, mesmerized all over again, as the giant Manglespawn strode through the mob, thumping and kicking and smashing. Nothing the dead rabbits and the plug uglies did could stop him. The little dwarf, Tinkusu, yelled something at Mose, and Dalton couldn't hear. And the giant picked up the plug uglies' fire engine to throw it. The mob scattered, but Mose didn't hurl the fire engine at them. He was suddenly distracted by something at his feet, and he dropped the white ghost on its end, almost crushing Tinkusu. Brickbats and ray gun blasts hit the giant from all sides, but he didn't care. He was searching desperately for something on the ground, and nothing else mattered. "There, Mr. Rivets," Dalton said. "What's he doing? What's he after? Can you see?"
I'm afraid not, sir.
Mr. Rivets said. Mose grew more and more panicked, until at last he found what he was looking for under the feet of the warring gangsters. He battled aside a dozen men, some from the Bowery Boys, to snatch it up, and Dalton finally caught a glimpse of it. "It's a doll," Dalton said, astounded. It was a small rag doll with a blue dress and yellow yarn for hair. Mose the Mengelspawn, bane of the 5 Point Gang, had stopped his rampage to pick up his dolly. Mose petted the doll and slipped it back into his pocket, then crushed a dead rabbit's head in with his hands. The monster was back. Alright, that one's pretty slick. Let's see if there's another one. God, this one is a bop. I don't think it's entirely appropriate for this song though, or for this this fight with Mose. Oh yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah, there was a doll in not the one last time, but the one on Sunday, I think. With Ragdoll Ann, who sacrificed herself to the witch so that her girl could make it out alive. Dalton felt the fire hose fill and stiffen in his hands, and the force of the water coming out nearly knocked him from his perch atop the Black Joke. He turned the hose on the monster instead of the fire. The water blasted Mose in the face, and the giant roared. He batted at the water like it was a living thing he could pound into submission, staggering back under the Black Joke's steam-powered gush. The dwarf pointed at Dalton, and the Bowery Boys charged the fire engine, but the dead rabbits and the Plug Uglies rallied to fight them. "Mr. Rivets! We have to keep pushing him back!" Dalton cried. Mr. Rivets put his clockwork shoulder into it, and the Black Joke creaked after Mose, herding him toward the well. With a gurgled roar, Mose took a face full of water, choked, stumbled, and toppled backwards into the well. Didn't entirely sound as I was hoping it to, but hey, we'll take it. Dalton switched off the pump, and the gang stopped fighting. A heavy silence settled on the street as everyone watched the well, half of them hopeful, half of them despairing that Mose had finally been defeated. The fire engine lurched, and Dalton nearly fell on his head. He just righted himself when the Black Joke's metal-rimmed wheels screeched against the cobblestones, dragging sideways toward the well. Mose was climbing up the fire hose. "Cut it loose! Cut it loose!" Dalton cried, scrambling for the connection. Mr. Rivets got there first and unhooked the coupling. The hose shot toward the well under Mose's weight and whipped down inside, removing Mose's only avenue of escape. A great cheer went up from the dead rabbits and the plug uglies. The Bowery boys knew when they were beaten. It was 2-1, 5 points. 2-1, 5 points versus Bowery now. It was 2-1, 5 points versus Bowery now. And without their monstrous champion to even the odds, the Bowery boys fled into the alleys and down the sidewalks, pursued by bloodthirsty rabbits and uglies. Soon only Dalton, Mr. Rivets, Tinkusu, and the burning tannery were left. The dwarf still hung over the side of the well, yelling pitifully after Mose, his little legs wiggling to keep his balance. I guess it's up to us to take care of the fire then, too. Dalton told Mr. Rivets. Perhaps we can salvage a hose from one of the other engines. The ground shook, and Dalton had to grab hold of the pump not to fall off the Black Joke. Another boom, and the street lamps wobbled. Tinkusu scurried back towards them, all smiles. "He's coming back," he sang as he passed the fire truck. Dalton couldn't believe it, but the earth rumbled again, harder this time, and the windows in the buildings up and down the street shattered. He jumped off the fire engine and ducked behind it as the ground exploded, raining dirt and broken cobblestone all around them. Through the wheels of the Black Joke, Dalton watched as first one, then the other of Mose's big hands grabbed the edge of the hole. Mose pulled himself up and out, dripping with mud and blood, and roared in anger. "I believe we are in a great deal of trouble," said Dalton.
"Yes, sir,"
said Mr. Rivets. Mose snorted and shook his head like an angry bull. Tinkusu pointed at Dalton. "There he is! There's the scrub who pushed you down the well! Get him!" "Run, Mr. Rivets!" Dalton cried. He'd only made it a few steps. Yeah, let's do... "Run, Mr. Rivets!" Dalton cried. He'd only made it a few steps before lightning erupted just above his head. Blue-white electricity crackled through the air so close, it made all his hair stand on end. Dalton fell down onto the cobblestones, ducking the blast, but the lightning didn't stop. The electricity streamed in a constant flow from the tops of the 4 lampposts on opposite sides of the street, creating a huge deadly X 6 feet above the street. Caught in the center of the electrical crosshairs was Mose. Mengelspawn. The Mengelspawn howled as white, hot electricity arced into him, burning the shirt off his back and leaving great black scars on his pale brown skin. Mose thrashed and fought to free himself, but the electricity didn't let him go. But it didn't kill him either. In fact, just the opposite was true. It seemed to be making everything about him bigger. Bigger and more inhuman. He writhed and lurched as his bones and muscles grew and shifted and mutated. Mose bellowed in rage and pain. Tinkusu ran. Dalton scrabbled back to the sidewalk, out from under the electrical storm. He knew this wasn't an accident. Couldn't be. Something like this had to have been arranged days, weeks in advance. Someone had built an electrical generator somewhere, connected it to the lampposts, then laid in wait. It was a trap built just for Mose. Mr. Rivets helped Dalton to his feet.
Someone else is interested in Mose, it would seem.
He said, "Yeah, but who? And where are they?" You need the music, Bebo? I got you. Oh. This one here is the Dance of Death. Yeah, it do be from the Everhood OST. You bet your bottom. Just this one, or did you want the other ones as well? It's the one before this one was Echoing Steps. And the one before that was Fight Song, I think. And we had Bloodstained Land, a couple of others. But yeah. I gotta say, I've been listening to the Everhood soundtrack like non-stop lately. And so thankfully I know a lot of the tracks at this point. Hey, get to your class, Bebo. We love you. We're happy to have you here, but come on. It's important you keep to your responsibilities. Dalton searched the windows of the nearby buildings, then the rooftops. There. Someone stood on the roof of a building across the street, watching over the side. "The well-dressed man with the electric cane," Dalton said. "Come on." Dalton gave the electrical trap and the howling monster within it a wide berth, and dashed into the tenement across the street from the burning tannery. The building was empty. Its occupants long since fled. Dalton sprinted up the stairs, leaving Mr. Rivets and his slow, plodding brass feet far behind. Dalton couldn't wait. The tick-tock would just have to catch up when he could. Dalton burst through the door to the roof. The man from the alley stood at the controls of a humming electric generator. Thick black rubber hoses ran from the machine down the sides of the building, and in the back of the roof, unseen from the street below, was tethered a small personal airship. As he approached, Dalton could hear the man saying something to himself. Sing a song of sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 4 and 20 blackbirds, baked in a pie. Baked in a pie. Who are you? Dalton called. Who are you? The man turned like he had always known Dalton was there, a gentle smile on his face and an unfocused look in his eye. Up close, Dalton could see they were about the same age. My name is Thomas Edison, the young man said. You set the fire, didn't you? Dalton said. You set that fire knowing the gangs would fight over it, and the Bowery boys would bring Moe's. They are not complicated animals, Edison said. You have to turn it off, Thomas. The electrical machine. You're only making him stronger. He's got too much Mangle-born blood in him, and the Mangle-born feed on the stuff. Edison cocked his head, fascinated. The Mangle-born? Is that what you call them? You mean the things that sing to me of an electric world? A better world? A world of heavier than air flight? Of instantaneous communication? Of light? A world where I would be a chieftain if only I would free them from their prisons. Hang on. Edison cocked his head, fascinated. The Mangle-born? Is that what you call them? You mean the things that sing to me of electrical world? A better world? A world of heavier than air flight? Of instantaneous communication? Of light? A world where I would be chieftain if only I would free them from their prisons. Dalton closed his eyes. This was bad. Very bad. A man with Edison's talents who was hearing the call of the Mangle-born was even more dangerous than Moe's. Turn it off, Thomas, Dalton told him again. I'm tempted, you know, Edison said, his eyes elsewhere. To free them, I mean. But I want to study them first. These Mangle-born and their offspring, that creature on the street. If I could examine it, test it, dissect it, uncover its secrets, think of it. A child born not just with the strength of 10 men, but 50, 100 men. Gods, what kind of monster would that be? Dalton said. Edison raised his cane. Electricity buzzed from the tip of it. I'm sorry you don't share my vision of progress. Dalton took a step back and bumped into Mr. Rivets. The machine man had finally ticked his way up the stairs and onto the roof. Mr. Rivets reached around Dalton, grabbed Edison's cane, and snapped it in half.
You really ought to wait for me in situations like these, Master Dalton.
Mr. Rivets said. It was Edison's turn to back away. "A tick-tock bodyguard," he said. "A tick-tock bodyguard," he said. "I shall have to get one of those. But one without the safeties, I should think." Mr. Rivets' indignant subroutine raised his chin. Mr. Rivets' indignant subroutine raised his chin.
Such an abomination would be a discredit to the service, sir,
he said. "I don't think he cares, Mr. Rivets," Dalton told him. "Come on." Dalton raced for the electric generator, letting Edison escape to his airship. Dalton scanned the machine, looking for some way to switch it off, but he knew nothing about the operation of such things.
if you would allow me, sir.
Mr. Rivets asked. Dalton backed away, and Mr. Rivets spun one of his heavy brass arms like a windmill, smashing it into the generator. It exploded in a shower of sparks and smoke. Dalton hurried to the edge of the roof. He was just in time to see a hulking, bulging creature 10 times more monstrous than Mose had ever hoped, had ever been, lope off into the shadows of the 5 Points' back streets. Above them, Edison's airship turned in the wind and followed it. Across the street, the untended Mantitopa tannery collapsed in on itself in a heap of burning timbers. "Not my best day ever, Mr. Rivets," Dalton said.
No, sir.
Said Mr. Rivets. Mose did not make another appearance in the coming days, even in the fight between the Bowery Boys and the Shawnee Roach Guards of the 5 Points. The evidence of his escape from the well was impossible to ignore, though, and all through the Sixth Ward, the gangs whispered rumors about where he had gone and what he had become. If the legends about Mose had been tall before, they were colossal now. When the treacherous rocks of Hell Gate tore a gash in the side of a submarine bound for Acadia, it was said to have been bitten by Mose, who took it for a passing minnow as he lurked in the harbor. A crumbling tenement on Canal Street had collapsed when Mose tried to sit on it. Mose had set the tannery on fire to light his cigar, which itself was the size of the Imartha Machine Man building. Such was the gang's growing fear of Mose, that the Roach Guards had broken and run from their battle with the boys at the mere cry of his name. Dalton was shocked to see a handful of Roach Guards at the Sportsman's Hall when he came in with Mr. Rivets one night. Even more surprising, the Roach Guards were staring warily across the room at another handful of Powhatan belonging to the Chichester Gang, the Cherokee of the Plug Uglies, and the Muskogee of the Charlestonians glared at each other from either side of the long table, hands on their ray guns, and the Seminoles of the 40 Thieves and the Ilini of the Shirt Tails gang watched everyone from the shadows. With the half a dozen or so Yankees of the Dead Rabbits about, they almost had all the founding tribes of the United Nations, Dalton thought wryly. Though by the looks of it, this meeting would end far differently than the one Brant and Franklin had orchestrated so long ago. "What's going on?" Dalton asked Agatha as he slipped into the booth. Agatha set a mug of beer on the table for him. "Meeting of the 5 Point Gangs. Meeting of the 5 Point Gangs," she whispered. "Kit Burns called the scratch. But it was Maggie who gave him the notion."
Surely this cannot be a good idea,
said Mr. Rivets. Dalton agreed. He took his beer with him to stand with Hellcat Maggie in the corner. "You're to thank for this insanity?" he said. "Aye," she growled. "This can't continue. Mose a jack cove. It's old Bob you can't stubble the old pogger. So we'll quash him ourselves." Old poggers. "You must be joking." "You must be joking," Dalton told her. "The Rabbits and Uglies couldn't even put out a fire together." Whoops. "The Rabbits and Uglies couldn't even put out a fire together. Because of that slobber-de-gullion. Because of that slobber-de-gullion," Maggie spat. Now that is a word. What in the world? Is that a real word? It is. You're kidding me. Archaic, a slovenly or worthless person. That's amazing. A slubber-de-gullion. I'm sorry to our current word of the day, noddle, but slubber-de-gullion. Need I say more? Noun, archaic, a slovenly or worthless person. Goodness, man. Hey out there. Know that I think that you are the furthest thing from a slubber-de-gullion, and I love you. The 5 Points gangs will be too busy quashing each other to bother with Mose. And you know it, Dalton argued. Listen, I saw Mose do something strange the other day that might give us an angle on him. You all know why we're here, and it's time we jobbed it, Kit Burns announced, calling the room to order. I'm proposing a temporary alliance between the 5 Points gangs. A truce. Just until we give that jazzy Mose his consolation. That prompted murmuring among the gangs, and Kit Burns let them hold their powwows. Look, even if they agree to this, how will you do it? Dalton whispered to Maggie. You've tried ray guns and brickbats. I drowned him. Edison electrocuted him. Nothing's worked. But Mose has this doll. And I was thinking... Kit Burns is right, Maggie said, launching herself into a large conversation. Let's pick together and quash the cove. That would certainly be a waste. That would certainly be a waste, said a smooth voice from the doorway. Thomas Edison stepped into the room, black suit, silver watch chain, black cane and all. A dead rabbit slid out of the shadows behind him with a knife. Don't! Dalton warned, but he was too late. Edison spun and put the tip of his cane to the dead rabbit, electrocuting him. The rabbit fell writhing to the floor, and the gangsters around Edison stepped back. Mr. Rivets ticked up behind Dalton.
I see Mr. Edison carries a spare cane. Shall I dispense with it too, sir? Shall I dispense of it too, sir?
I mean no trouble, Edison said, raising his arms in mock surrender. Quite the opposite. I come with what I think will be a profitable arrangement for all of us concerning the monster. Don't listen to him. No good will come of anything this man tells you, Dalton said. This is my bar and my gang, Kit Burns told Dalton. I call the shots here. We'll cheese what the Cove has to say. We'll cheese what the Cove has to say. Then we'll quash him and take all his dots and dibs. That got a laugh from the other gangsters. Even Edison smiled. It's your establishment and your territory, as you say, but instead of killing the beast, I was hoping you might capture it for me instead. Kit Burns looked around wide-eyed at the other gangsters. Oh-ho! You was hoping we would capture it for you, was ya? And just why would we do that? Because, said Edison, I will pay the person or persons who brings the monster to me alive the sum of $10,000. You could hear a cotter pin drop in the sportsman's hall as Edison stuck a piece of paper to the community board. I am leaving the address of the pneumatic post office box at which you can contact me. Should you manage to subdue the creature, I have also taken out classified advertisements in the New Rome Times and the New Rome Sun. Send word when you have him, and I will come to collect and to pay. Edison left, but hardly anyone paid attention. The gangs all had their heads bent together, discussing the prospect of $10,000 in their pockets. Hellcat Maggie could feel the room slipping away. We still ought to mob together, she told them. No one gang can do it alone. And who gets the Cove's honey then? One of the roach guards said. The dead rabbits? They probably knew about it already, a Charlestonian said. Was that your game all along? The shirt-tail said. Use us to do the grabble for you, then get fat on the Flashman's mint when you turn the monster in? No, Maggie said. We need to quash him. He can't be caught. We need to quash him. He can't be caught. The dead rabbits can catch him, just you see, Kit Burns told Maggie. and all hope for her plan was lost. She had told Kit Burns what to do in his own bar, with his own gang, and Kit Burns was his own man, and made his own decisions, even if they were foolish ones, that were going to get him killed. "Just you see if we don't nab him first," said the plug ugly. A Cherokee pushed a Muskogee. A Powhatan punched a Shawnee. The Sportsman Hall was suddenly a battlefield. Hang on. Ooh. Dang, this one's a jam. Let's go back to this one. Alright. A Cherokee pushed a Muskogee. A Powhatan punched a Shawnee. And the Sportsman's Hall was suddenly a battlefield. Chairs flew, knives slashed, ray guns flared. Those who didn't fight sprinted out the exits to spread the word. Catch Mose, earn a cool $10,000. "Don't! Stop!" Dalton cried, trying to be heard above the melee. "Edison's a madman! He wants the monsters to experiment on! To make more monsters! You can't help him!" Dalton barely dodged a flying brick. Agatha grabbed him and pulled him beneath a table. "It's no use," she told him. "In an hour, every gang in the 5 Points will be moving on the Bowery Boys. It'll be all-out war. New Rome will burn." "We have to get to Mose first," Dalton told her. "If we can kill him, they'll have nothing to fight over." "But how?" Agatha asked. "What are you going to do? Drop a building on him?" "No," Dalton said. "No. But that does give me an idea. Come on." I'm hoping it was just on my side, but the stream looked like it went into like 8-bit graphics, essentially, for a solid bit there. It's doing it again. Is that just my internet, or guys, are you seeing that as well? Am I become a pixel man? I am become a pixel man. Well, guys, it's good to finally be living the dream as a pixelman. It's okay. Did it Alright, looks as though major technical difficulties are being had over on the 3Addict channel. Those hanging out on my stream, I appreciate you hanging. Aha, I am back, and I am not a mosaic, I hope. I am become 8-bit Mario? Okay. Well, let's see if we can't. It looks like we might not finish this story today, but let's see how far we can get in these next 10 minutes. See where this idea is going. that Dalton has had. Alright. Let's see. They're about to do some, like, covert operation things. What song would be good for that? Yeah. I think I'm down for this. Ah, I am become Mosaic again. I am still Mosaic, man. Oh, my poor little Mary Owl. Can hardly tell. The Mary Owl looks like an egg now. Alright, it looks like things are back once again, but it seems as though those quality drops are staying pretty consistent. I don't know, it seems as though that is on your guys' side. Because in my streaming software, you know, OBS, it's looking pretty fresh and fine. Would it help if I just kind of scoot out? Whoa. Whoa. Ah. Wait, no. Oh, not yet, not like this. Oh, no, no, no. Alright, just kidding. I'm back. Oh gosh. Oh god. So that quality drop is consistent for everybody. Bro, what is happening? I'm back? Probably? Maybe? Alright, you know what? I'm gonna get out of here. Oh, I got stuck on the edge. Never mind. My car, like, crashed, essentially. Oh, just like the stream. Oh my god. Oh my god. What is happening? Guys in the control room. Does this have anything to do with my settings or something I need to change? This is pretty rough. I'm grateful that it's happening, you know, towards the end of the stream here, but still. Oh, sorry. It's coming from my channel. Seems to be on my channel too. I'm hoping it's not my internet. Dude. Alright. Guys, it seems as though, my stream is kind of just dying. I'll run a speed test over here as well. Oh, whoops. That is Task Manager. Yeah, I'll run a speed test over here as well to check to see if my internet is just dying. I'm sorry about that. That really sucks. End is a little bit embarrassing, but seems a bit out of my control. So yeah. We'll as always still though, remember to take the merriment that we found here together today. Let it set you at ease as you go forward with your goings-ons today, and let it carry you into tomorrow. I'm terribly sorry about becoming a pixel man. I pray that the rest of the streamers today have good luck and don't run into anything like what we've run into now here at the end of my segment. Remember to love yourselves so that you might love others next. And we'll continue the Hero of the 5 Points next time. But for now, I've been Pixelated Mary Mitch. Till next time.